Hello and good morning, everyone. So, we are here for the panel discussion 6, which talks about managing compliances, tackling data breaches, and adopting cloud security and technologies at the Digital Transformation Virtual Conclave. So, with this, I would like to first welcome Mr. Jaspreet Singh, who is the partner and leader, Trust and Transformation, Grand Thornton. Welcome, Jaspreet, sir.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Then I would like to welcome Mr. Gaurav Jindal, who is the regional head, government business, Thales.
Hi, good
Welcome,
morning,
Gaurav.
everyone.
I'd like to welcome Mr. Sunil Kalra, who is the head SeMT, Department of Information Technology, Government of Bihar. Welcome, Sunil, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Fahim, and good morning to everyone.
Then I would like to welcome Mr. Henry Potsangbam, head SeMT, Department of Information Technology, Government of Manipur. Welcome, Henry.
Good morning, everyone.
I'd like to welcome Mr. Sohan Lal Nautiyal. He is the head SeMT, Government of Odisha. Welcome, Sohan.
Thank you. Go connect.
And I would
And
like to
support.
welcome Mr. Suchit Karnik. He is the COO of Infotech. Welcome, Suchit.
Yeah, good morning.
So, without
Thank
taking
you.
much of your time, and I would not like my audience to wait for this interesting panel discussion, I'll hand over this panel to Jaspreet and I'll take a back seat. Over to you, Jaspreet. Thank you.
Thank you, Fahim. Uh, Good morning once again, and thanks for giving me the chance to moderate such an esteemed panel with such distinguished fellow panelists. Right, it's always interesting, and especially when the topic is about how do you manage compliances. The compliances are increasing day by day. Data breaches, and I don't need to tell you every week, once a week, if you open the newspaper, first news you see is about some company suffering a data breach and the various losses around that. And then obviously, the last piece is around how do you adopt cloud technology. There was a time 3 to 4 years ago when you used to walk into meetings with CFOs, CXOs, CIOs, and everybody would say, Jaspreet, how do we go to the cloud? Or should we go to the cloud or not? And now the first thing, the question they ask is, how soon can we go to the cloud? So there's definitely been a changing mindset, in terms of adoption of digital transformation, as is the larger theme on the conference. Also, very very interesting is that you know there's a WhatsApp joke that I was reading. I got a forward. I'm sure all of you would have also read it. That who's responsible for the entire digital transformation as a catalyst in the last 24 months? And then you'll be surprised, the answer is COVID. Right, in given the unprecedented times that we are talking about, everybody's working from home. If we had a corporate office and 5 regional offices, now we have 20,000 offices of all. Every employee working from home is now like a virtual office. So data breaches are increasing because of that. You're not no longer security is driven by the office security, or the perimeter security, as they call it, right? So with that, let me start with you, Mr. Sunil. When what are your initial thoughts when you got an invite to this conference?
Uh, thank you, Jaspreet, for inviting me. And the first speaker, I can speak a lot of things. And as a first speaker, I get the opportunity to talk about a lot of things. My first response was yes, this is the main thing. We take it very seriously about the security of our data. So whether it is a cloud security or whether it is related to data security, uh, we it may not be a very productive approach, but we tend to take things slow until unless we are sure that our data is secure. So in government there are a lot of push and pulls. You are driven by a lot of uh, uh, time to market things, and uh, there are a lot of political pressure. There are a lot of bureaucratic pressure. So uh, you cannot have exactly all the security compliances till the time you actually host any of the application on our own data center. So we still tend to put a lot of things in place. So what we have done is we have our own SOPs, we have our own compliances, so that we comply to that as much as possible, and try to make sure that we do not get any breaches. So my initial thoughts were this only. Yes, it's a very important topic, and yes, we have to have a discussion on these kind of things so that we can take it forward within our government and in the industry. Yeah, back to you, Jaspreet.
Super. Thank you, Mr. Sunil, for your excellent remarks. Mr. Henry, moving to you, please.
When I saw the topic, it's a bit quite complex because if you see by the line, it was about how to manage the compliance. When you said compliance, most of the time people go with the giving the compliance report. Yeah? But actual thing happen only when you intervene and try to remedies the what are the things that you need to do. For example, with respect to the security, we have the guideline from settings, and then we have the guideline from different vendors. So then what are the steps to be done? Not only on the paper, but doing is very challenging. So when I heard about managing compliance, it's a very wide topic, and then and very relevant for the time being, because the compliance is something that we need to be focused uh, very methodologically, and not just only for the sake of paper, but it has to be done in the field. And the another challenges which I see is that it's about the cloud. When we talk about the cloud, we think about deploying some application, and then the cloud vendor like the Amazon or whatever the third party cloud, they will take care of the security. But no, the government also play a very important role to just sees that whatever they deploy in the cloud, they understand and they deploy. So and then finally they talk about the topic about data breach. It's something about, it's very evolving and very intimidating sometimes, because when you talk about Adar, then when we initiate the Adar in the beginning, everyone was crying about the what will happen if someone breaches the data related to the Adar. But then in reality, we see that a lot of information of our Adar is being provided to a lot of places. So this seeing these three topics that we need to talk about, I thought that it's very challenging, and then it's the right forum where we can raise the something practical, and then trying to understand from others people also how they are implementing, and then we can also share. So this is a very challenging topic, which when I saw these particular topics.
Super. I think excellent opening talks, very timely, very topical. Cost of compliances. I think some of these pieces very, very important. Mr. Sohan, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jaspreet Singh ji, and thanks for the opportunity to be part of this Go Connect, to be for the digital virtual conference, and good to see my colleagues and counterparts from different states. Now coming to the as soon as I saw the topic, so basically typically the various challenges which we come across, and we have seen, we have heard also the data security aspects, okay, as well as the cloud perspective, because at Odisha we are going in a big way for hosting all the application, and almost more than 180 applications, government application are hosted on the cloud. Okay, and what all the different steps which we have taken as part of the security aspect as well. And we are going for CSOC, okay, Cyber Security Operations Center, and how exactly this could be used to ensure that there, when there is a threat, what all the steps can be taken by the whoever is looking into the SOC, basically forming a team and all. So we are in the process, and almost we have set the infrastructure for the SOC. And now, so that all the request which is coming from the different angles to the servers, to the state data center or the cloud, that will go through the SOC. Okay, and so that's one of the key thing. And the other thing is the application perspective. Like we have blockchain and AI techniques. The blockchain, how could it help in the security aspects as well, and how AI can be used in handling the security aspect in CSOC as well. So that certain things are taken care by AI itself. So having said that, so going forward, I will keep updating what all the different initiatives taken at Odisha, and good to hear, and we'll hear from the other state as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sohan. Some very valid points made. Uh, Mr. Suchit, your views, please. Uh, Mr. Suchit?
You're on mute.
Sorry. Thank you very much for giving this platform. I agree with what most of you have said. And when I got this topic, when I was overwhelmed to see and share thoughts and understand what are the different ideas that people have from the compliance perspective. As many of you have said, that compliance is always going to be challenging. It is not that you have done something and that's it. It is always uh, needs to be taken care from data storage perspective, from data continuity perspective, and data as I see is going to be the most important aspect of the digital transformation as we move ahead. And Mr. Jaspreet, you very rightly said about that. I mean, what has basically caused the digital transformation? It is one of the main important factor is because of the COVID, and that is how I see that the rise and the technology per se is evolving because of those pandemic issues, and because of which it is also giving rise to the data breaches. So very important aspect for all of us today is how do we avoid, though I know we cannot fully avoid it, but what are the different technologies and techniques that we should adopt for saving and our data. Compliance, as I said, is always a challenge, and it's a cost to any organization, whether it's a private or a government. It's a cost, but we should not look at compliance as from the cost perspective, but we should look at compliance in a more wider horizon way, that it is going to basically save a lot of I would say the issues that we may face if there is any breach or if we are non-compliant. Because going ahead, I think compliance is going to be more and more stringent, and organizations will definitely have to go in for compliances and data protection and things like that. So that's what it is. It's all about the data protection.
Superb. And I think Mr. Suchit, very valid inputs. And with the proposed data protection bill likely to come in uh, soon, whether it's a winter session or the next or next year, it will have a huge bearing on our compliances. So last but not the least, Mr. Gaurav, coming from a very different perspective, your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Jaspreet. So, as all the panelists said, even I was very excited to come to this forum, specifically because, see, what I feel is that with the growing requirements of cloud, and which is derived from the citizens more than the departments. When I say citizens, means today all the citizens want to use smartphones, want to use mobile applications and stuff like that. And with such a kind of population that we have in India, this cloud adoption is going to increase, and cloud is going to definitely stay. And having said that, cloud and cybersecurity need to coexist. As we go forward, that cloud adoption, as Henry sir said, that when we move to cloud, the cloud provider provides all kind of securities. So this is precisely the point which I would like to highlight, because in our past experience, what we have experienced is that the government agencies have come up with RFPs which have cybersecurity components or cryptography, if I were to use that word, in their RFPs. But the we have experienced that they have come up because of the compliances and all the stuff. But there are cases where our customers have procured the solutions around cryptography, but they have not even deployed them. The boxes are kept just like that. So that the prime reason is because probably the cryptography is a necessary evil today. When I say necessary evil, what I mean is from compliances, audit, and not only compliances and audit, from data protection point of view, it is definitely necessary. And when I say use the word evil, that is because today the people are not very much familiar with the technology, and they are a little scared to deploy, probably because of lack of training to the employees who handle their data centers. So the underlying fact remains that even if you move to cloud, uh, as per the guidelines of UIDI, the responsibility of the data lies with the fiduciary. So even if you adopt infrastructure as a service, PaaS, SaaS, whichever form of cloud you adopt, at the end of the day, the responsibility of the data lies with the fiduciary. So that is the most important point, wherein apart from compliances, that cybersecurity comes into play.
Some excellent points, right? Data fiduciary, etc. How will states deal with it? And then I think in the next 55 minutes or so, now we will let's focus on what are the states doing, and then we'll come to Suchit and Gaurav for expert advice on how can we guide them to it's a very difficult path. If I were to use the name of a book, it's the road less traveled. Let's see how other states doing. So let's start with since one of the topics is around the entire cloud adoption. Let's start with maybe Henry. This time I'll ask you to go first. So what is the current state of cloud adoption in your state, and how much of your current state owned and operated IT infra do you actually see migrating to all the approved cloud platforms in the future? And then we'll come to you, Sunil and Sohan.
I will address this query in two parts. First of all, 95% of the applications for the state of Manipur is running from the cloud. And the second thing is we are moving with a new concept called hybrid. Okay, the cloud is no longer about public or private. It's all about hybrid now. With the emergence of technology like hyperconverged, the technology has created the deployment of the cloud in the on-premises. So what the government of Manipur has decided now and is to bring the private cloud using the hyperconverged infrastructure on the private data center, and it has already implemented now, and running some of the applications on the cloud. This is running from Amazon. So what happened now here is in order to run the less critical application and which can be scaled out is deployed now in the public cloud. And then finally, the critical application like financial implications, which has the apprehension by the government, is now deploying on the private premises. But when you say private premises, it's not just about deploying the application in a normal traditional way where you have a hardware deploy some operating system and deploy application on top of that. But in order to bring the beauties of the cloud, the the private environment. So we have deployed the hyperconverged infrastructure, which in turn gives all the functionality that the cloud has provided. So in short, just to be precise, 95% of the applications are running from the public cloud, and 5%, around 5 to 10% of the mission critical applications are deployed and planning to deploy to bring some of the applications to the cloud, to the private cloud services available using the hyperconverged infrastructure.
Thank you, Henry. Mr. Sunil, your thoughts on cloud adoption and how would you migrate to the approved cloud service providers?
Okay. Jaspreet, luckily we were early adopters of cloud. We had this in knowledge about how the cloud will shape up in this current times, and we were luckily we moved or we created our own private cloud at our data center sometime in 2016 itself. So currently, as far as state governments are concerned, probably we would be in top 3 or top 5 having our own private cloud. We have a cloud of nearly 3,500 cores, uh, and another 2,000 will be added up pretty soon. Having said that, there are some applications which are very big, so they have their physical infrastructure. So it is kind of a mix. In our data center, we have mostly clouds, around 100 plus applications in cloud, few applications on a co-located mode, and hardly less than or in a single digit applications which are on a physical server. Uh, we had more on physical server, but about 2 3 months back, we had an internal drive within our own state wherein we uh, pushed those departments to move to the cloud, our own private cloud in the data center. And not just okay. This was one part. Uh, we have a cloud with Red Hat, that is RHEV. So we are currently in the phase where we are moving all our applications from RHEV to RHOSP. So we are actually moving on the open source platform of Red Hat. So that way we will leverage more of the features of cloud once we have moved all our applications on that. And I'm expecting in by January and February I would have moved all my applications on RHOSP. Having said that, in between about 2 years back, we were thinking of securing our data. So we had a long discussion about how we should go about our DR and BCP. And our initial thought was we'll make another data center in a different seismic zone in our state itself. But then we did a cost benefit analysis on other factors, and I'm happy to say that we saved a lot of cost, nearly about 40 crores, and we have moved our complete DR and BCP on government approved cloud that is called CSPs, wherein we take storage, we take cloud services from one of the commercially available clouds. So in that process, we actually saved more than about 40 crores. So that is our state of adoption in cloud. So state, I would say we were early movers and we are very much into that. And one more factor within our state when we sell our cloud adoption is, as of now, our cloud is hosting applications wherein we are running at about 100 more than 150% of the requirement. That is because of the scalability which we get in cloud. So if it is not required, then we scale it down. Then whenever it is required, we scale it up. And so actually, we are utilizing our cloud as per the requirements. I would say about 150% plus. Yeah, back to you, Jaspreet.
Sunil, great. I have few follow-up questions, but let's first give Sohan a chance. And you mentioned about data, cloud, moving, migration. Uh, a lot of those have triggered quite interesting thoughts in my mind. We will definitely come to you. Uh,
Yes.
uh, Moving to you, Sohan. Your thoughts.
Yeah.
What is your state
Okay.
doing?
All right. Odisha State ENIT perspective, ENIT department has designed and implemented the cloud-enabled state data center for hosting application as part of Go Cloud and the infrastructure. And using this cloud computing technology, okay, we have designed, deployed, and integrated and configured and implemented the government of Odisha private cloud. So that's the Go Cloud. And this compromise of software-driven infrastructure service for computing, in computing, then networking, storage, tenancy, security, and service management perspective. Okay, and the infrastructure is designed to be easily and quickly provisioned with minimal effort and cost. The other thing I would like to highlight here is that during this COVID also, there were some of the application which has were developed and needs to be deployed in the server. So the option which we had is that we have given the remote connectivity and they are deployed the application for for some time, some period. We have given the permission to the people who are hosting it, and that's one of the key things which we have done during the COVID as well. And currently, we are also focusing on enhancing some of the components which are which are part of the this cloud. And we have just completed and selected the SI vendor also, and we are these things will be enhanced, and so that we enhance our focusing on software-driven approach for ensuring it is integrated and even security aspects are also taken care. And the actual Go Cloud plan to enhance our proficiency and in providing services is such as again platform as a service, infrastructure as a service to promote the collaboration. Okay, so that's the overall idea of this, and we yeah. So that and yes, SOP has been defined so that whenever the particular application has to be hosted, no, the process is followed, and once it goes live, and before the other thing which we security aspect which we take ensure that no, the software is security audit is done. It is no, and post that only the application are being deployed at the cloud, hosted on the cloud. Yeah, so those are the key things. Then yeah, I can take it up later. Thank you.
Very very interesting from various cloud models, etc. Again we'll definitely talk about some of those models in detail. uh, Coming to you, Suchit, uh, your thoughts on the entire cloud adoption from an outside in perspective. Suchit, I think you are on mute.
No, I'm saying I didn't get the question. So can you please repeat?
The question
Am I
is,
audible
what
now?
are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the entire cloud adoption from a state perspective, and how is it that you guys are helping them from the adoption of cloud, etc., and the various compliances?
Yeah, okay. From the compliance perspective, I think there are a lot many needs to be done. Those states are adopting, states are trying their best to be compliant from the data protection perspective. As I said earlier, also, it is not going to be an very straight or very easy thing because the compliance is ever evolving, right? I mean, the threats are ever evolving, so we cannot say that we have eliminated threats. Okay, what we can do is we can minimize or we can have a residual risk, but and the compliance as such. So from the perspective of compliance, the policies that, and from the product perspective per se, like as Gaurav said rightly, so Thales has fantastic offerings from the cloud perspective, from the compliance perspective. There are various areas and various domains that can be offered as a service, as a part, as a product. So there are a lot can be done from the compliance per se, as well as from the cloud security per se. So from a cloud security per se, the real issue comes when there is a hybrid model, right? So there are few applications which are hosted on prem. There are few applications which are hosted on cloud. So how do we get and the compliance done? How do we see all the applications and the compliances as well as the risk mitigation in a single uh, pane? So that's going to be a real challenge for most of the organizations who are adopting clouds. That if they are 100% on public or on private cloud, then comparatively it is easier. But when you have an hybrid environment, when you have applications which are hosted on public, applications hosted on private, or even on on-prem, how do we get the compliances? How do we put the compliance in place? How do we see the data tackling? How do we see the data protection? These are all the aspects of the cloud and cloud security. So products and the technologies like CASB is something they can look at it. They can also look at encryption as one of the technologies where you encrypt the entire cloud instance, and the combination of public key and private key, which will help, because the once you encrypt the data, it is going to be the key is going to be available with the actual user, so no one else can get the access to the key, and with the help of key only one will be able to encrypt and decrypt. So encryption of the entire cloud instance, encryption of the data can be a very useful. CASB, as I said, again a zero-day protection technology again. So there are various technologies one can see, and they can take a very holistic view of which technology is best suited for their environment and their cloud adoption theory, because every
Perfect.
every every organization would have a different strategy.
Thanks, Suchit. I think from taking it to the cloud, you've talked about a lot of compliances, and here comes Gaurav. One of my favorite questions, right? Today we are talking about some tons and tons of compliances, whether it's UIDI, IRDA, GDPR, upcoming data protection bill, my other data security, and while I before I now turn the table to the states and talk about how do they, for example, help keep the citizen data secure. This is a question to you, Gaurav. From a Thales perspective, right? From your organization perspective, how can Thales help some of these states maintain their compliances? Gaurav, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so Jaspreet, as a matter of fact, Thales is one of the leading cybersecurity and encryption provider globally. So we have definite solutions around all these compliances and data security. Couple of things which I would like to highlight as a part of compliance, just to touch around all the compliances per se. If you talk of GDPR, PI, IRDA regulations, PCI DSS, or the UIDA guidelines. The underlying fact for all the compliances is that the data has to be protected. The protection of the data is the responsibility of the uh, provider or the fiduciary, as I mentioned earlier. Nobody else owns the responsibility of the data. So, how do you protect that data? As there are a couple of technologies available in the market, but having said that, there is no one technology which can single-handedly safeguard the data. So it has to be a combination of technologies. When we talk of combination of technologies, the traditional methods of perimeter securities, the new generation firewalls, IDS, IPSs, and stuff like that, they would definitely be there in place to take care of the perimeter security so that no malware or something like that enters the system. But what happens in case they are able to breach the perimeter security, because there are a lot of vulnerabilities which cannot be protected from 0 day. So there are definite chances that the perimeter security would be breached. So what happens in that case? So, as Suchit mentioned, encryption is the key to all this. And when we talk of all the compliances and guidelines from different regulatory authorities, they also talk of encryption, generating reference numbers, masking, and stuff like that. So, these all technologies are available with Thales. And one interesting point which Suchit mentioned was control of the key with the owner. So this is how you deploy the solution. Even today, people make a mistake of deploying a solution where the control of the keys are not kept with them. For example, when they adopt a cloud, they put an encryption in cloud with the key management solution, and at the same time, they keep the control of the keys also with the cloud provider. So, which is the biggest mistake I would say is done while deploying the solution, because when we encrypt data and that data is lying with a cloud provider, and you keep the keys also there on the cloud, it essentially means that as you put a lock onto on your locker and put the key alongside. So when we talk of control of the keys, it has to be with the customer. So what we essentially suggest our customers is that you deploy a encryption solution with the cloud vendor, but keep the control of the keys with yourself, which is in a tempered through box of what we call it as hardware security module. So BYOK and BYOE, a combination of bring your own key and bring your own encryption, has to be implemented while uh, protecting the data and complying to all the regulatory regulations and audit regulations which are prevalent. Thank you, Jaspreet.
Thank you, Gaurav. Really interesting, and I'll come back to you with few questions around Aadhaar UIDI. Yeah, you mentioned about that. So let's start with you, Sohan, first, right? Uh, one thing that worries, maybe more a question as a citizen than as a moderator of this panel. States have all my data, right? And what would be the states doing to protect citizen data from ransomware, other threats, including data protection? Sorry, I think you're on mute, Sohan.
Okay, yeah. Uh, t- I completely agree with Gaurav regarding the encryption and the masking, things about the data. Okay. The other things I would like to highlight the typically which is used as part of the key things like uh, hashing. So here there are two things. One is primary key and then the public key. So in that case, what happens? Your private key and the public key. Okay. So where we have the technology of cyber, this one cryptographic currency, how the hashing can be done, so that when the data is sent, from A to B. Okay. So no, yeah, so B can access the information through the public key, and but the data which is sent from A, it is on typically it's a private key. So that's how the certain data can be ensured. Okay. That's one thing. The other thing, how exactly the state is doing for protecting the data. Okay. So as I told, the SOC, right, Security Operations Center, ultimately what it will do that. Uh, the if any hackers tries to hack the data center or any data. So a log is like SIM technology, where the log will be tracked, okay, of whoever is hitting the center or trying to get the data. From that analysis, because this SOC team will be 24 by 7, protecting and monitoring, continuous monitoring, and the things how it is being, what is happening in the data. So that's one thing from the log, and that's how we can be protected. As well as AI techniques can be used for certain things to control. Okay. So so these are the key things which, as part of the security aspect, which is being followed. And in cloud also, we have a cloud security mechanism, where which will ensure the data is not hacked. That's the other thing. Now, coming to the UIDA regarding the Aadhaar data and all, one is that no, it is ensured from, and as per the law also, that directly the data is not shared, unless and when there is a consent um, uh, from the unless and when there is a consent. So that's one thing, and the other thing is that whenever there is a data is shared, so the no a temporary code will be generated, a link will be generated, which will access the information from the other data. So these are the key things. That is how which can be protected, can be protect the data perspective. Yeah. Audio. Just
Thanks, Sohan. Over to you, Sunil. What are the initiatives that you are taking in your state?
Okay. The very standard initiatives of data center, NIPS and next generation firewall and all those things are already there. I'm also happy to share that again Bihar has taken another lead wherein we have just constructed our brand new data center, which is a tier 3 data center, and our migration to this new data center should start by end of November, and probably another 3 months we will go live on a new data center. So in the new data center, we'll again come up with a full-fledged SOC. Um, I need not go into the details of all the 6 or 7 components of SOC. So slowly we'll implement that. I'm not just looking at those components of SOC, but I'm also stressing on departments, various departments, to strengthen their application itself also. So let's say I have got all my things in place in my data center, but my application itself is very poorly designed, though, so it will not help me very much. So we are stressing again on the application level also. We are saying that in case you make any new application, please get the design vetted by Department of IT. We have a set of consultants, or we have set of technical people at our end, and we go into that. We discuss with them how the complete architecture will be placed in the data center, how the application should work, how the data will be stored, and then we thrash out all the issues, and then only we give a go ahead in case the department comes to us. But this is only the beginning. Slowly and slowly, more departments are seeking our advice and help, that okay, tell us how to design our applications, because uh, till now they never knew. They were totally dependent on external consultants. So that is one thing. Another, yes, coming back to Thales, yes, we again we have we are the global ASA UA with the UIDI. So we give, Department of IT itself is a service provider for complete Aadhaar authentication and KYC for all the states or government departments in the state. So we are a global SAUA, so we can store Aadhaar numbers in the data vault. So yes, we are giving authentication services. We have actually we are using Thales product, and we are storing the keys in there. for our Aadhaar authentication. And we have, as per the Supreme Court directives and then UIDI guidelines, it is mandatory to have a data vault. We have already taken out our tender RFP for data vault, and actually it has been closed also. We are doing evaluation of that, and we will probably be able to announce the system integrator for that also in few days. So all those things, yes, we keep on adopting, and like you yourself said, Jaspreet, and all our speakers, that it is an evolving process. We cannot say that I have adopted this and I can stay still and everything is taken care of. In the
Right.
market, a lot of new hackers are coming, new techniques of hacking are coming, and so we have to evolve ourselves with that. And we
So
continue.
they are at least 2 steps ahead of us. At least that's what
Yes.
I understand. And let's take Henry's view on this before we go to you, Suchit and Gaurav.
Okay, this is very interesting stuff. I just want to mention that, Mr. Gaurav mentioned about the key being the private key of the cloud for encryption lies with the cloud provider, and it's just like keeping the key of the locker besides the locker. In fact, that is what actually happening in all over the place. We have to agree. The first thing is, if we need to solve a problem or we face some situation, we need to understand the situation first, and we need to realize that we are in this situation, and then only we can solve the problem. But most of the time, wherever we go, is we don't know what exactly the problem is, and then we try to solve the problem. So that is the main problem. So what I see in my experience is that is the first thing is the educating this implementer and official. When you connect with any of the official, they comes with a big bunch of paper or a big sheet of Excel saying that I'm compliant with this. But what is the reality? So reality is totally different. We talked about SSL. If you see, most of the breach happen at a very minute level or at the elementary level. That's because the tools are available, the ransomware, they are very elementary. I'm not saying that the advanced things doesn't happen, but 90% of the problem is all at the elementary level. We lack the basic. We always treat the security as a accessory, because when we say as the Mr. Karya mentioned that about when an application get deployed, a new application comes in, we ensure that it has been audited by a third party which is approved by the government in order to verify that the application is compliant with the OAuth 10 or whatever the guideline. But in reality is that people do it for the sake of doing it. So I want to highlight the people, highlight the every audience which is listening is that educating the implementer and the official who are responsible for the application security needs to be taken very seriously. Security is not just a compliance or giving in the form of a letter or DO or whatever you call it. It is the actually implementing it. Okay. And that is the first thing that mentally we need to change the way we think about the security is not a necessary, it's a mandatory. First. Second, about addressing the concerns of the data protection in the state here is that we try to hash the application code in such a way that application is secure in encrypted way, in a very minimal way. And when the data is shared, it follow all the process about very minimal way. But now we realize that it cannot be done in the way it is. So we are also going with the third-party vendors like SAS and all, so that because encryption is something can be done in a very elementary way, as well as in very standard way about using the RSA 2048 for encryption or AES 256. Even if you go in depth in detail, AES 256 is also not fully protected. So the challenge here is even the government, UADI, they talk about the Aadhaar Vault, but it doesn't give you any specification saying that when you put an Aadhaar Vault, it has to be RSA 2048 for encryption key, or it should be asymmetric encryption, or it doesn't mandate that one. It's leave it to the to the implementer. So there it comes the catch. So when you give a free hand to how you implemented it, it's a challenging. But when you give the restriction also, it's a challenge. So we need to find a midway. And in the case of the state of Manipur, so for the time being, we're trying to use the industry available in the market, and we tie up with some vendor, with some who's an expert in the security, and then we just try to implement it in the very manner where everyone does it in the encryption, as well as using the latest firewall, and that is how we are managing the data security as of now.
I think
Mr. Jaspreet and the distinguished people here, there's some emergency has cropped up, and probably I will have to leave this because of some emergency, and I will not be able to continue. Further.
Mr. Suchit, please take
So
care. Please
I
take
would
care.
like to, yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Jaspreet, Gaurav, and the distinguished panelists here. Thank you very much for offering this platform to express thoughts and views. I would like to reconnect, and we would like to have this discussion further. But as of now, you will excuse me.
Sure. Please
Thank you
take
very
care,
much.
sir. Please take care. I hope all
Yeah.
is well. Take care.
Take care. Thanks. Bye.
So let's come to you, Gaurav, then. Right, a couple of esteemed panelists actually stole my thunder, and they spoke about the current buzzword, right? The Aadhaar data vault. While I will go to them to ask about what's the status of the adoption in their state, how are they planning to implement, etc. You know, do you have any play from a Thales perspective in the entire Aadhaar data vault solution? Uh, and I'm sure, like uh, everything today, there are multiple service providers available, right? What's it that you bring to the table? What's your USP?
So, Jaspreet, before I get into that at all, actually, I was itching to make to give my 2 cents on the earlier discussion which we were having, and Mr.
Sure. Please go
Kalra
ahead. Please go ahead.
Mr. Kalra and Henry made a couple of very interesting points. So, around the ransomware or the attacks, where Mr. Kalra very rightly said that all the perimeter securities and all that stuff, everybody would have it. I'm sure for there's nobody would have compromised on those technologies, but still there are cases of breaches, and as Mr. Kalra rightly said, there is a today the need is to strengthen the applications. Uh, that is a very great idea. At the same time, there are human errors, I would say, or maybe carelessness, or could be financial constraints. So, a very interesting latest ransomware attack which happened in India. I would not like to name the customer, but the reason of the ransomware attack was that they used the older version of the software backend software while developing their application. So what do you do about all those kind of vulnerabilities, if I may say so? So from that perspective, I would say from Thales point of view, we have a robust and a unique solution there, wherein we what we do is we whitelist the application and processes. So even if the whitelisted application and processes are allowed to take to play a role in the production environment, even if a hacker crosses the perimeter security, as I mentioned earlier, if basically if a rogue binary starts encrypting all the files using your public key from command and control center, we provide protection by detecting the attack in the final action phase and prevent the rogue binaries from encrypting the sensitive files. So basically, we protect data to its core by whitelisting the applications and the processes, so that no other application or process is able to encrypt the data. That is how we take care of the ransomware attacks. So Thales solution not only encrypts the unstructured data in files, but also encrypts structured data in databases. So I must say that our data security solution provides a last line of defense when all the other security measures basically fail in the earlier steps. So this was around ransomware. Coming to our Aadhaar data vault story, yeah, Jaspreet, is that yes, we have a major play in Aadhaar data vault solution per se. Apart from only doing encryption or data protection, we take care of the different compliances that have been put in place by regulatory bodies. So when we talk of Aadhaar data vault, as outlined by UIDAI, merely building an Aadhaar data vault doesn't fulfill the mandated compliances. So basically, to cohesively protect the Aadhaar data, tokenization must be used to disguise the original Aadhaar numbers and the corresponding reference keys. So tokenization is one of the key areas in Aadhaar data vault. So basically, in an Aadhaar solution, there are three basic pillars. One is to discover the data. Obviously, until unless it is a greenfield project, uh, obviously all the organizations would have footprints of Aadhaar data, or if I might call it PI data, apart from Aadhaar data as well. So the first is to discover where all the these Aadhaar data are there in the organization. Obviously, they're not at a single place. Then to classify the data in sensitive and which is the sensitive data, move that data to a single repository, which we call Aadhaar data vault. This is the process I'm talking about. Typical Aadhaar data vault as given under the guidelines of UIDAI, and then protect that data. So these are the three steps which need to be taken care as far as the data vault is solution is concerned. So we have a very robust solution in form of our a single platform solution, which we call as CDSP, or Surface Data Security Platform. This solution offers this offers us world class solution in the way that this platform offers both vaulted as well as vault-less tokenization. So from our perspective, vaulted tokenization would be more relevant. So we have use cases with all leading banks who use our Aadhaar data vault solution, oil and gas sector, where we have deployed our Aadhaar data vault solution successfully. And so this is the solution what we have as a single platform, as I mentioned. And the beauty of this solution is that one, uh, there is no interdependency on multiple vendors. It is a single point solution from a single vendor. Interdependencies, interoperabilities, and stuff like that is ruled out. Number two is the ease of deployment. When we go for a multi-vendor kind of a scenario, for example, we take a key management software from somewhere, hardware security module from somewhere, and your Aadhaar data vault software from a third party, then integrating them, or we get into a bespoke kind of a Aadhaar data vault solution, then developing the solution, which takes approximately 6 to 8 months, and then deploying it and testing, and then coming to the production. So in our case, it is just a matter of 3 to 4 weeks. You going for the Aadhaar data vault solution from Thales, it is a single window. We deploy it in 3 to 4 weeks. We customize if required according to the customer needs, and we are ready to go in a 3 to 4 weeks time. So those are the advantages which our solution brings to the table. Over to you, Jaspreet.
Wow, seems like quite a integrated suite. And let's go to my three friends from the various states and ask them about the adoption of this ADV program in their respective states. Now let's start with you, Henry. In this case.
Before I start, I just want to ask Mr. Gaurav. You said the solution is fully integrated and it can be deployed in 3 weeks. Okay. Uh, so what we look from here is because when the government or any vendor or when any like us try to understand and implement the stuff, we always look to the industry, because this IT, the government is only just trying to understand it, but actual implementer is always the technology company like Thales or any other SaaS or any other provider, because we choose the stuff that we want, but the actual thing happen only when you that industry implement it. The challenges when we choose this stuff is that fully integrated is that, does it lock the vendor is a concern that we have it, because recently also the government of India has floated a tender for the DigiLocker. It has been floated in the three ways. So we have a discussion here. Why three vendors for that? One for the implementation, one for the back end, one for the front end, and then finally one for the managing it. So we discussed on that. I put forward the query why we need to have four vendors, or why a four tender when it can be done in one, because DigiLocker is one application. So the challenges what the management of the managing the government official is rightly thinking is about, if everything goes in one solution or one vendor, then it tightly couples all the stuff and it started mandating stuff. And then finally, when we decided to move to some other stuff, then it becomes difficult. So I want to ask to Mr. Gaurav, and that is, when we go for such kind of solution, does it has some guideline or spec that is compatible, that when it can be exported and then it can be transported in another application? Because UIDI itself doesn't mandate the implementation technology. It only says is that about it should be encrypted, and it only says about the Aadhaar ball. It's nothing. The storage needs to be encrypted and it's not be shareable, and it has to be the technology agnostic in such a way that. So that's the first thing. So the first thing that I want to raise with perspective to as a consumer, the customers to you, the kind of provider. And with regards to the data ball and the data protection for the Manipur state, we are trying to engage with the vendor and trying to understand what are the stuff that is available in the market, because technology security is always a complex topic. And most of the people, I'm not saying all the people, so most of the people, it can be 80 to 90%, vaguely talk about the security, but hardly understand it. It's a fact. Because when we talk about SSL also, if we implement SSL properly end to end, most probably, I'm saying again, 70 to 80% of the problem can be solved. Because if you see in my house, we put a proper gate, and then if I put a proper gate, most of the Bulgari or some other activities can be protected. I'm not saying all, but we can be secure enough. But still, people are not doing this at this level. And so even in data protection, when you talk about Aadhaar, I still remember when I was in a company before 2 years ago, they were struggling it because nobody knows about what to do. To be frankly, nobody knows. Even the vendor comes in and just talk about that. What does the Aadhaar ball know? It took around 3 to 4 years to realize what exactly the ball is. It's just like an enterprise architecture. Nobody knows about enterprise architecture, but everyone talks about enterprise architecture. When I said nobody knows, means what to be done. I'm not saying about that they don't understand it. We understand it, but how to be done is challenging. So here also the Aadhaar ball, the lot of vendors comes with a lot of concepts, like for storing is a different, for encryption is different, and then for the application provider to connect is a different. Then they comes with a different stuff that confuse the people more. And then what happens is we end up trying to understand the technology and we forget about the main stuff. The main stuff for the Aadhaar goal is, the concept is very simple. Storage of Aadhaar number should be in a particular storage within the environment of the organization to reduce the footprint of Aadhaar. That's it, nothing more than that. But then we interpret it in different ways and encrypt it. I'm not sure about it has been revamped or not. As far as I understood, around 2 years ago, when Aadhaar ball was come out, it's very simple that the technology doesn't matter, but it should be secure enough that because We are using the Aadhaar for financial transaction, and then we are using for our authentication also. In a very even we use an e-office nowadays, so for signing uh, the stuff. So for us, we don't have any options. We have to go with the vendor, which is technologically sound and there's implements of. We are tying up with some vendor to understand what they bring in our table, and we will try to choose the best. We have chosen one or two vendor that can work further. That is the scenario of the Manipur as of now related to the Aadhaar encryption.
Thank you, Henry. That was quite detailed discussion. Over to you, Sohan, and then we'll come to you, Sunil.
Okay. Yeah. So I completely agree with Gaurav and even Henry also regarding the data world. Okay. In Odisha state perspective, yes, actually we are using definitely what is the use of no, this. That's the main thing, right? So there are various schemes, and ultimately the scheme has to go to the right person. Okay, through the DBT. So that's the idea, right? That's the main goal. Uh, so in this case, what we have done, actually earlier we have done the encryption mechanism and to pass on some of these one of the key scheme like Kalia and all. Basically encrypting and then transferring based on the scheme, ensuring that the right data is there for doing DBT. So that's the thing. And currently, what we have done recently, we have come out with the RFP as well, and ensuring that this kind of schemes keeps coming, right? And government schemes launching new schemes. So in that case, how exactly we could have a data world, okay, where we have so that based on the scheme, being once all the minimum criteria are set, they should able to just run the scheme and the DBT transfer should be done without any error. So in this case, what we have done is that no, we have taken try to account the architecture is that accumulate all the schemes data and then see that no, we have no, we interact with the other data also for for certain taking care certain aspects. So in that case, we see that it is encrypted or before generating a data world. So that's the overall. Thing. What I'm focusing is that ultimately why we are using where exactly this will be used. So for scheme based. So we have developed or not developed. So basically, the architecture is so robust in such a way that tomorrow, if any new schemes comes into picture, that is added with certain parameters and roll out to the citizen. So that's the thing where we are working on it. Yeah. Um, vendor perspective, yeah. So this is right now. I think it's in process of selecting the vendor, and yeah. So that is it from my end.
Perfect. Sunil, your thoughts, please. And after this, we've got three, four questions from the audience, and I'll request to see who amongst all four of you would be happy to take that.
Okay, so yes, Aadhaar. I'll go back to how we started. It was about 4.5 years back. We started talking about adoption of Aadhaar, like giving it as a service to the complete state government, and we did an analysis. It may my answer may partially give you a reply for Henry as well, because I was in another discussion few days back. Uh, See, when you become a global ASAU and start giving these services, there is a cost associated. Like you have to give it as a fees to Aadhaar, and then there are certain deployments you have to go and do at Aadhaar data center. You have to have dedicated lines, lease line hitting at Aadhaar data center, and all those things. Those costs So we did a cost analysis wherein we found that Bihar, being the third largest populous state in India, considering the population we have, and the kind of all the schemes and applications which we were using. So when we did the cost analysis, it was beneficial for us to become a service provider rather than taking a service from some other service provider. So that is one of the major factors wherein smaller states do not find it cost beneficial to become a service provider themselves, and they go for someone else. So once you become a service provider, yes, then you have to comply to all the UIDI guidelines, rules, and again whatever rules are given by the honorable courts of India. So yes, we have already adopted, uh, and we are also adopting a Aadhaar data vault. Like I said, we have already taken out an RFP and tender for that, and it has been closed also. And we are doing an analysis of that RFP. I'll give you another interesting factor. Slightly, I will be diverting from the current question. I think I've answered your questions about our Aadhaar adoption and all those things, but I'll just give you another example. If you are following the state government of Bihar, we are currently holding panchayat elections in our state. It's a huge election. All the panchayats are undergoing the elections, and this time we have made a change wherein whenever the voter is coming for giving a vote, we are doing Aadhaar authentication through our service. So you will be surprised. It's not a, secret thing or something. Our chief election officer, state chief election officer, is giving briefing to the press every day. So we actually are catching bogus votes as high as 50%. And the results of panchayat elections are very different. All those old, those people who have been winning elections for past so many years have suddenly started losing those elections. And we are getting congratulatory remarks and things from panchayats and many political leaders. Even though panchayats is not directly linked to politics, but yes, they are coming forward. Many leaders, I would say, not just political leaders, and they are saying yes, it is one of a unique thing. And during the last, just this past 15 days, many of the central government and state government election officers and concerned people who will be who are actually visiting our state and seeing how we are holding this election. So, big thanks to our state election commission. Our part is to give this particular technical know-how and as a service, the Aadhaar thing. And we have adopted some part of AI as well, wherein using AI, we are able to declare results within a day rather than taking many days of counting. So that's another part. I will not go into that thing because it's not in our main topic today. So we are not limiting ourselves to DBTs and giving incentives and verification of those things. We are now started using Aadhaar into other things, which is like this particular election. And if, in fact, I am hoping and probably this may become a norm going forward in many other states and probably for Indian elections as well. Yeah, back to you, Jaspreet.
Wow, quite interesting discussion. From the Aadhaar vault to how we can help on data protection to the entire cloud. I think we really had an amazing panel. Let's quickly, I'll read out few panel questions, a few questions from the audience, and whoever between Henry, Sohan, Sunil, Gaurav would want to answer that, it would be great. So the first question is, the COVID dose is now linked to Aadhaar, right? Is there any breach in Aadhaar security, and how can we tackle this? Suhan, would you go? Would you like to answer this? Henry?
Yeah.
Henry.
Okay. So
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there is some issue from Sohan, so probably I'll take this.
Sure.
Yeah. Uh, See, there have been issues. I am reading another question wherein a person has said that even though they have not done the second dose and is getting a message from there, so it is not linked to Aadhaar security. It is something probably, like I said, the applications have to be robust. So somewhere probably someone has given Aadhaar number, or somewhere in the application of COVID, something would happen. We can only assume things. We cannot say for sure what would have happened. Something would happen on the application side, and uh, just to stress on that it is not related to Aadhaar security, because when you go to the COVID app or when you go for vaccination, they just put in your number. They do not do a biometric authentication of yourself. So as such, no authentication takes place. So if someone puts your Aadhaar number for whatever reason, you will get a message that you have been vaccinated. So something similar to this would have happened. If it was something like you are putting your thumb or you're doing a RS authentication, then definitely it is an issue. But in this particular COVID case, no biometrics is taken.
Super. I think that answers the question. Uh, uh, I think Gaurav, Sunil, Henry, Sohan, and Suchit, who had to leave early. It's probably been such a pleasure moderating this esteemed conference. I learned so many things, whether it's about the Aadhaar data vault to the entire cloud adoption that the states, the fantastic work that all of you are doing in your respective states, and the state of increasing the compliances so that some of us can sleep very peacefully. Thanks a ton. Back to you, Fahim.
Thank you, Jaspreet. I would like to say it's like you've done a great moderation in basically bringing out the. It's like if I talk about the topic which you had, which was managing compliances, tackling data breaches, adopting cloud security and technology. It was a very well moderated panel with a very interesting discussions, and it's like with the states and from the industry perspective. So I would like to thank you all. And as it is a digital transformation conclave, we talk about digital. So we have some digital mementos for everyone. So I'd request my backend team to, if they can put in the first, I would like to invite Mr. Gaurav certificate. If my backend team can put it here. Thank you, Gaurav. We'll be emailing you
so
this
much.
certificate of speaker. Thank you for joining
Thank you,
us.
sir.
Next, I would like to bring in Suchit. Suchit has left. We'll anyways email it to you. We'd like to bring in Sunil Kalra's certificate. Thank you, Sunil, sir.
Thank you.
Then I would like to welcome Henry's certificate. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Mr. Sohan, if you can bring in Sohan also. Thank you, Sohan, sir. I think so. He has also left right now. Then the last is our moderator, who has done a wonderful job in moderating this panel. Thank you, Jaspreet, sir.
Thank you so much, Fahim. And seriously, dear panelists, it was absolute pleasure hearing your thoughts. Be safe and take care.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank,
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye bye. Take care.
thank you, everyone.